Macmillan Audio presents Powers by Brian Michael Bendis and Neil Clyde. Read for you by Thérèse Plummer. Prologue. December, Saturday morning, 3 a.m. 3 drops of blood fell to the floor, one after the other in rapid succession. Strapped to a splintered chair, Joe watched them plummet to the ground. He thrashed against his bonds, elderly body too weak to snap the ropes. The glow of a neon sign bathed the apartment and the old man's fruitless struggle. It flickered through the window, carved into red-white slats by a filthy set of Venetian blinds. Joe's tormentor, hooded and silent, knelt by his side. The man's hands were gloved, the kind of gloves one wears to garden rather than shovel snow. He carried an object on his arm, heavy and distinct. He tested its weight, marveling at the balance before placing it against a toolbox that he'd brought along. A handheld power drainer rested on the toolbox, emitting a faint green corona. The drainer's signature glow intermingled with the neon from the window, mixing to a muddy yellow and eliminating the last of Joe's fading powers. The hooded man secured Joe's ropes, pulling them tight. The fraying bonds cut into his skin. Each time he twisted to free his hands, more blood eked out, hanging in the air before splashing to the floor. Joe worked his mouth, possibly trying to plead for mercy, but his tongue had been removed along with most of his teeth. The hooded man had taken half the teeth with pliers. Another quarter had been extracted with barbecue tongs. The only things left in Joe's ravaged mouth were the remaining molars, flecks of spittle, and additional fat droplets of blood. The hooded man massaged Joe's arm, doing his best to soothe the frightened prisoner. He reminded Joe why this had to happen. In fact, he detailed the road that had led to this moment. Unfortunately, his captive's recollection proved as hazy as the moonlight. The hooded man completely understood. The events leading to the night's proceedings were not as important as the feelings he endeavored to elicit from the deserving prisoner. Pain, anguish, and betrayal. Sorrow and shame.
"That's it," the man said. "Not so bad. We're nearly done."
He rustled a hand through the old man's hair, eliciting chills at the back of Joe's neck. Leather rasped against wood as the hooded man used the chair for support, carefully rising to his feet.
"Just 2 things left,"
he continued.
"Then it will all be over."
He gripped the front of Joe's rumpled shirt. Buttons tore away, bouncing into the darkness, exposing wrinkled skin to the crisp December air. The remaining nubs of Joe's teeth soundlessly chattered. He'd lost a lot of blood. The scuffle, the beating, both had taken more out of the elderly captive than his tormentor could have dared dream.
"Because he's a fossil,"
the hooded man reminded himself.
"He let himself get weak. He let himself get soft. And goddamn stupid."
Gloved fingers expertly rolled back one of Joe's shirt sleeves and then the other, folding them away from the old man's biceps. The hooded man arranged elderly goose-pimply arms so that both of Joe's hands rested palm up against the armrests. Then he stepped back from his handiwork, walking toward the middle of the room.
"There,"
he announced.
"That's 1.
Joe tried to catch a breath, squinting to find his captor. But the hooded man blended expertly into the shadows, a mystery against stacks of rotting newspapers. He'd been surprised to find Joe in such squalid lodgings. The building was a slum, and the rental itself a suffocating closet. Dusty posters hung on the walls, tacked into cracking plaster.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?